What's going on, everyone? Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be talking about my Q-Fix today and what I've found works with it, what I've done to it, and why it is a very good utility rifle that I believe is underappreciated. This right here is my Q-Fix. This rifle was the solution to this can. So I got this can in part of a BOGO for my Velos LBP on my LWRC, and it has done really well. This rifle I bought actually about a year ago. So I about have a year on the rifle. I want to say I have somewhere around 500 rounds on it. You're probably thinking, no, that's probably not enough, but I mean, ammo is expensive around here. I put a lot of ammos through this rifle, just getting it tested and done. Pretty much the stock rifle is just a fantastic piece of hardware. Let's just say I don't regret my purchase. It was hard to initially, just because I still had to wait for the can. I've only had the can since about July. And it has done really, really well taming the recoil of this gun, because the cherry bomb that is on there does not do a very good job. Now, I did keep the cherry bomb on there, and I just put a Plan B device on my SilencerCo Omega 300, which has worked perfectly. We have no issues whatsoever. It doesn't want to come off. I really got to get a wrench on there to actually take it off. On top, you will see a Leupold MK5 HD with the H59 Reticle. It is honestly what makes this rifle a little bit more accurate on top of the suppressor. Being able to see those 100-yard groups really helps with this. And then I have the Vortex bubble level on there, and I put that on there because I went to a precision rifle class. Now, full disclosure, I actually don't own this rifle scope. This is my brother-in-law's rifle scope, because my Trijicon AccuPower 4-16 by 50 that sits on here, I believe has a parallax issue, because I can shoot half-inch groups at 50 yards with this rifle. I actually have the paper. It's just with the scope as proof to Trijicon that there's something wrong with the rifle, the scope, and putting it out to 100 was just a problem. It was shooting like 4-inch groups all day, but it was 100% because of that reticle, or that scope. This scope has shot half-inch groups, 3/8-inch groups all day, depending on the ammo loads. I have done a lot of testing on this rifle. Now, I'm not the best marksman, which is why I went to a long-range rifle shoot with long-range rifle shooters of Utah, and this setup was able to go out to 1,000 yards pretty good, pretty well. There was a lot of training in that class that I needed to really hone in this rifle, and on top of that, there was a milk jug challenge at the end of it. My milk jug challenge didn't go very well with this rifle, I'll be completely honest. I was shooting Hornady 168 grain ELD match. I have like 3 different lots of it that I was shooting that day. But the reason I did it was because the ballistic coefficient on this rifle, or on this particular projectile, is really high. It's the highest I think I could find that was in a G7, and they required a G7 BC. So I utilized this, and it's still MOA all day. But the issue is that when you go out to 1,000 yards with this particular rifle, the length of the barrel reduces that velocity pretty good. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. The box spec for this stuff was about 2,700 feet per second. Now, I think according to what I was shooting that day, I'm going to open up my ballistics app shooter and get the actual number for it. But my ELD matches were running around 2518.5. So 2,518 feet per second with a 10.5 foot per second standard deviation, which is pretty good for match ammo, especially coming out of this rifle. So when I talk about dialing this into 1,000 yards, at 1,000 yards, it had 10.9 mils of adjustment. So that's pretty significant. Like a 6.5 is probably around 7 mils. So there's almost 3 extra mils of drop when you're using a 308. Now, again, when you bring down the barrel from like 20 inches to 16 inches, or even 24 to 16 inches, which these are ran out of a 24-inch barrel, you're going to have some velocity problems, because that's clearly, so if we're running at 2700, it goes all the way down to almost 200 feet per second loss of velocity, which brings me into another subject, which is, if you're going to buy this rifle, you have to have one of these. It's just a plain story. Or if you go to Proof Research and spend an extra $1,000 and throw in a carbon fiber 20-inch barrel, again, this is a lifesaver. This makes all the difference in the world when you're trying to shoot long range. Now, Kevin B has already said that this is not a long range rifle shooting thing, and he's probably right. He's actually, in fact, right. This is not a long range rifle. However, you can do it. It just takes a lot of effort on your part, because this rifle requires a lot of taming, and that comes from the can and your discipline as a shooter to get out to those 1,000-yard targets. Shooting a milk jug with this, I think it took me 27 bullets to do. It was very difficult. Plus the heat from the barrel, because it starts super thick. If you can't see the profile of the barrel, I'm going to try and show you on this GoPro, but it's not exactly the greatest. The barrel starts as, I want to say it starts as a bowl, but then it just slowly tapers down to a pencil almost. That's pretty thin down there, but it's really thick down here. And it's still accurate. It still does the job. Your velocity is just going to take a huge hit when you're using this rifle. And really, it's just up to you to make the right decision. Now, they do make 6.5 Creedmoor barrels. I've never shot the 6.5 Creedmoor because the site that I got it from, I got this rifle like 28% off from a Black Friday deal on Shop My Exchange. Now, if you don't know what Shop My Exchange is, you can pretty much put this rifle on like 0% for 12 months with a military star card. I got like another 20% off, like it was like 8% off as it was, and then I got 20% on top of it. The rifle went down from $3,200 to like $2,600 when I bought it, so it was well worth the purchase. And I had done a lot of research, and I'm talking hours. It almost bothered my wife so much that she was making comments about how much research I was doing, while I even had a kid on the way. So the main reason that I did buy this rifle was, one, I appreciated the marketing on it, obviously, but the biggest reason was this. If you are any sort of Nutnfancy project fan, he always talks about firepower. Now, if you can have a bolt action rifle that is as light as this, you can take 20 round magazines, go for it all day, because this is impressive. It really is an impressive piece of machinery. Now, I went to the Sig Cross and I looked at the Sig Cross and I was like, man, it's a good looking rifle. And I have a Sig 1911, always loved it. But I used to own a 320. I sold it because it was too bulky when I was carrying concealed in Las Vegas, and I'm not trying to wear a sweatshirt in Las Vegas unless it's the wintertime. So My biggest thing was I was going between building a 700, going with Christensen Arms, or going with Sig Cross, and then I came across this. The price tag was super, super expensive. But then when it was on sale, I immediately went for it, and I paid this off. This rifle is actually completely paid off, except obviously the rifle scope isn't mine. The biggest thing is the weight on this. Now I got to pull the weight up. So full weight with this scope and a 20 round magazine. Let's see here. This scope with a 20 round magazine, bipod scope, as this package is standing, 11 pounds, 10.2 ounces. With a 10 round magazine, it is 10 pounds, 13.5 ounces. And that's all with 175 grain projectiles. This is still lighter. It's almost a pound lighter than my LWRC, which has a very big scope on it. It's like 13 ounces. But this rifle, as it sits, still lighter. And honestly, that's awesome. It's super great. The initial purchase was difficult because I went with the AccuPower that was on my rifle to a bigger AccuPower to this during my competition, or not my competition shoot, but my training shoot. And all day, it just is, it's a fun rifle. The weight I can change easily. Obviously not as it sits right now because the scope mount that these are in, you got to take a tool to it, but I'm a big fan of the quick disconnect stuff here, especially on my BT46 from Atlas. And it's super, super crazy. Now, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. This rifle, my initial purchase, I regretted it. And the reason I regretted it was because I was printing like 2-inch, 3-inch groups. Then the cam came in, printing 1.5, 1 if I was lucky, under that. And I was still with that 4-16. After throwing this on there, I've been throwing in 3/8 inch groups, 1/2 inch groups, and it's been a blast. I even would say that this, as it sits, is a pretty decent setup. I would love to have a smaller scope on this, only because I believe this is my utility rifle. My AR-10 is definitely my home defense, do-all, be-all, get around. This rifle is definitely my I need to touch something accurately rifle with a bigger projectile than that does. So when you take a look at this reticle, there's a lot of stuff going on in it, but it is a phenomenal reticle. And you can do sizing, you can group people like to see how far they are, all the way from like 100 to like 1,000. I think it's like 100 yards all the way to like, I want to say 1,000 yards. Let me take a look actually to make sure I'm right on that. This is not illuminated, by the way. So yeah, I think it's all the way to 10 if I do this correctly. Yep, all the way to, I want to say 1,000 yards, but it's an even things. But the reticle on this is phenomenal. It's great, and my AccuPower, when it comes back from Trijicon, I hope fixes itself, because that sits in a 20 MOA mount, which I like. This is not in a 20 MOA mount, and I don't have an MOA base on this, so hopefully when that 4-16 comes back fixed, we're going to be good. Okay, so what ammo am I using in this? So I've gone from Hornady, Federal, Barnes, AAC, and this is kind of my result. What I found was these are too slow. This is shooting at box spec, 2,600 feet per second. Coming out of this rifle, 2,400 feet per second. 200 feet per second drop. It's kind of a pattern, right? This AAC ammo, and I'll put a screenshot up. This AAC ammo is shooting 256 feet per second out of my rifle. That's significant because it's only 4,400 feet per second from the box spec, which was 2,600 feet per second. 44 feet per second, 200 feet per second. Which one are you going to choose? Oh, and by the way, this shoots MOA. MOA. I'm choosing the AAC all day. In fact, it sits in the rifle at home when it's stowed away. That is significant. So it's hot. At the muzzle, it's putting out 2,538 foot-pounds of energy. At 1,000 yards, it drops to somewhere between 675 and 650 foot-pounds of energy. And at 1150, it hits that 500 foot-pound mark, which I believe is the limit to taking down anything that needs to be taken down. So 1,150 yards is the max for this rifle with this specific ammunition. The standard deviation on this as well was 6.5. 6.5 feet per second. It was very, very good. I have ordered more. This is like $1.10 a round, and then this is like $2.30 a round. So I'll talk about that in another video, just showing like the math behind that. And then there's this Hornady stuff, which is I use for my match ammo. And then for my hunting ammo, I am using a 175 grain Federal Terminal Ascent. And this round, absolutely half MOA to an MOA groups if you're lucky. With this specific rifle. This is my rifle specifically, so don't take what Mom's saying to be accuracy for your rifle. That's not my rifle. This is my rifle. The best part about it was that this is shooting about 2,470 feet per second, and its standard deviation was around 10 or 11, if I remember correctly. And it was my go-to hunting round. Now, this, as it was, I hiked around the Utah woods with this. It was an absolute pleasure. Honestly, my friend was shooting a Bagara 300 Win Mag. That's a big rifle with a SilencerCo Mega 36M. It was a heavy, heavy rifle. I think that rifle was sitting probably around 13 pounds. Obviously, like I said before, 10 pounds. What was it? What did I say it was? 10 pounds. 13.5 ounces. That's, almost 11 pounds, but the weight on it is super well balanced. It's super well balanced. And we would set up in pretty good positions, and, we just didn't see anything. Now, this doesn't have any kills on it. Obviously, no coyotes, no elk, no deer. And this is kind of why I bought this. This was my hunting rifle. This is the hunting rifle, the solution to everything. Replacing my 30-30 that my father-in-law had. And that rifle's like 50, 60 years old. I didn't feel like hunting with that thing. It's too nice of a rifle. Now, this is a nice rifle, but that rifle is a classic. It's something that you need to keep in the closet. That's a treasure to the family. Like, that's going to keep getting passed down to my son and whatnot. This is just a solution to the problem that I have. So now the adjustable stock, I will say, it's not field adjustable. This T25 obviously is going to be used throughout the entire rifle, but you need a T25 to adjust the stock. I've kind of got it adjusted to my capabilities, but I feel like there could be some tuning back here for me specifically to get it in line with my body more. But this is not field adjustable, so it's a once all do all. And the stock, when you fold it, you really got to put some pressure on it. But I mean, after a day shooting, you really got to press down on this, which is totally fine. It is not going anywhere, and it doesn't really rattle. What you're hearing is, I think, just this piece here. This was another reason I bought the rifle. The fact that this just like rides so smooth. I mean, you can sit there all day and really just go to town. Obviously, this is empty, but you know, the safety is nice. It's super, mine's kind of stiff, but you know, playing around with it, it's not that bad. And then trigger pull, I mean, it is just a pleasure to really shoot, and it really really is nice. So here's my final thoughts on this. The rifle is phenomenal. It's light. It's a utility rifle. Is it a precision rifle? Probably not. Could it be? Absolutely. If you really tune this thing up and you really got behind it like I have in the last year, it's a precision rifle. It's just the lack of barrel length that's going to hurt your velocity. That's going to be the problem. But in my case, I have no issue with it. Just get yourself some kind of chronograph, or get a chronograph, get your favorite load, whatever is most accurate. Go to the range, get it done, and just plug it into your ballistics app. You're going to be totally fine. Are you going to be hitting milk jugs at 1,000 yards? Yeah, I did it. It took me a minute, but I did it. Ready, Jared?
Yep. Much.
Oh no, this doesn't. This is like a third as loud as that.
Are you shooting at the pink jug too, Nick?
I'm shooting at the one left of the.
Got it.
Like,
Got it.
Finally.
Did you really?
How many rounds was that?
Hold up.
We're not going to talk about how many rounds it was.
I like 8.
You got it.
Yeah,
There you
You
go.
got it. It's all that matters.
Good.
I think it was probably somewhere around 30 or
That's
so.
okay. Dude, you hit it. That's all that
Hold
matters.
up. So give me a call.
Okay, so going back to my final thoughts on the rifle. In order for this rifle to truly be, I think, in a good position to be utilized, you need a suppressor. The suppressor is so much to this rifle. It really brings the recoil down probably by half. The fireballs out of this thing are super great. They're super fun, but this can brings everything down. It's super great. It's done its job. This is honestly, like I said before, the suppressor was bought before I even bought the rifle, and the rifle was the solution to the suppressor. So it's a great combo. The scope is everything. And really, like, that's the only thing I would have to say is, like, if you get this rifle, you need a good scope and a can. And the rifle will shoot for you all day long. Doesn't matter, like, what position you're in, where you're from. Like, it is just a great rifle. And I'm using this to go elk hunting. I'm using this for... I'm going to try and do some coyote hunts with it. Or, you know, just do some random hunts and shoots and steel shooting with it. It's just a great, great rifle. Overall, if you have any other questions, if you're just like a regular guy like me, trying to decide a precision rifle for yourself, I suggest Q-Fix all day. I've shot the Cross. I've shot... Accuracy Internationals. I mean, I've shot a bunch of different rifles recently, and I still think that this, in its current configuration, is pretty dang comparable to a lot of guns, but it comes at, you know, a premium, which is fine for some people, and then for some people it's not. But I do suggest, like, looking at this heavily. before you go and get a Christensen Arms or a Sig Cross, or even building your own 700 or getting a stock 700. This rifle, bare bones out of the box, is great. Now, I do have to disclose one thing. Again, another disclosure. This is probably the video of disclosures that, you know, you're probably looking for. When I was originally shooting this rifle, I probably put about 70 rounds through it. And I was just doing my cleaning, and then I noticed something in the barrel. Now, it was very weird. I've never seen it before. But the rifling was actually peeling out of the barrel. I don't know what that was from. But long story short, I sent an email to Q. I said, hey, something's wrong with the barrel. And I'm shooting these crazy groups, which I was. And they said, okay, yeah, send us the rifle. We'll take a look at it. Emailed me back, said, yep, your rifle barrel was bad. We replaced it, and we sent it back. I didn't pay a dime. So, on top of this rifle being, you know, stock price of $3,200, they replaced the barrel for me for free because there was something wrong with it. Sent it back to me for free. So, their customer service I've had no issues with whatsoever. And, you know, again, I'm super glad that I did that. And that was kind of like my initial, like, oh, this might be a bad purchase. But then putting the can on, getting the rifle scope on there, it's a great rifle. I will not change a thing, except maybe the scope, obviously, because my 4-16 is like, I want to say it's like 5 or 6 ounces less than that. Let me take a look at what it is, just so you have a number when you go to look at it. Let's see here. With the 4-16, with the 10 round magazine, is 10 pounds, 9.3 ounces. With the 20 round mag, it is 11 pounds, 4.6 ounces. So, not too much of a difference between this rifle scope and the rifle scope that I'm getting fixed for it. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. If there's a question that I didn't answer, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll try and answer it to the best of my ability, obviously. I'm going to be doing a lot of testing with this rifle, as long as this video, you know, gets, let's say, 100 likes on it or whatever. Who cares? I'll start doing some velocity testing, showing you some more shooting, real life steel shooting, and, you know, maybe a coyote hunt. We'll see how it goes. So let me know your thoughts, and I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for stopping by.